The night cracked open with rain and gunfire, the kind of moment that doesn't ask who you are or what you deserve before it decides everything for you. 1 second, the world was headlights and wet asphalt and a child crying in confusion. The next, a single father was on his knees, blood soaking through his jacket, arms locked around a boy who was not his own, heart pounding with one single truth that mattered more than pain or fear: the child beneath him had to live. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet heroism of ordinary people, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this only reach the world when people like you help carry them forward. Ethan Cole had never planned to be brave. He had planned to be steady. After his wife died 3 years earlier, steady was the best he could offer his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Steady mornings packing lunches before sunrise, steady evenings fixing broken things with borrowed tools, steady promises that everything would somehow be okay even when the bill said otherwise. He worked nights as a security guard and days as a delivery driver, his life narrowed down to survival and love. That night, he was off duty, walking home through a side street after dropping off a late package, thinking about whether Lily's shoes would last another month. The storm came down hard, blurring the city into streaks of white and red. Ahead of him, an expensive SUV skidded to a stop, hazard lights flashing uselessly in the rain. A man in a soaked suit was trying to shield a small boy, panic written across his face. The world felt wrong in a way that set Ethan's nerves on edge. He didn't know the man was a powerful CEO, didn't know the child was worth more money than he would earn in 10 lifetimes. He only saw fear, and a child standing in the open. Everything happened in fragments. A shadow stepping out from between parked cars. A sharp sound that didn't belong to the storm. Instinct took over before thought could catch up. Ethan moved, body reacting faster than fear, pulling the child in and turning his own back toward the danger. Pain exploded through him, hot and numbing, knocking the breath from his lungs. He fell to the pavement, rain mixing with blood, holding on as tightly as he could while the world tilted and darkened. Sirens cut through the chaos. Hands pulled at him, voices blurred together, but Ethan stayed conscious just long enough to feel the child being lifted from his arms. Relief washed through him, heavier than the rain, stronger than the pain. He didn't know if he would live, but he knew the boy would. That was enough. The hospital room was small and smelled like antiseptic and damp clothes. The bullet had missed his spine by inches, a fact the doctors called lucky with careful voices. Recovery would be long. Work was out of the question for weeks, maybe months. Bills piled up on the small table beside his bed, unopened because he already knew what they said. Lily sat in a chair too big for her, coloring quietly, her eyes darting to him every few seconds as if afraid he might disappear. Ethan smiled for her, even when it hurt, because that was what fathers did. News of the incident flickered briefly across local channels, another violent night in a city used to moving on. Ethan's name was mentioned once, then forgotten. He was discharged with painkillers, warnings, and a limp he tried to hide from his daughter. Life returned to its narrow track of worry and endurance. He wondered how long before they lost the apartment, how long before he had to explain to Lily why things kept breaking no matter how careful he was. The morning the SUVs arrived, Ethan thought he was dreaming. 6 black vehicles rolled into the street like something from a movie, engines idling, men in dark suits stepping out in perfect, unsettling order. Neighbors peeked from windows. Lily pressed her face to the glass, wide-eyed. Ethan's first thought was fear, the old instinct flaring again, but there was no threat in the way they stood, only respect. The man who approached him was different now than he had been in the rain-soaked chaos. He moved carefully, eyes heavy with something like gratitude and guilt combined. Ethan learned then who he had saved, and who the child's father was, and how that night had changed more than one life. He learned that courage echoes in ways you can never predict. What followed was not a miracle that erased pain, but something quieter and deeper. Medical bills were handled without fanfare. A rehabilitation plan was arranged that fit around Ethan's life instead of demanding he bend himself into something impossible. A new job was offered when he was ready, one that paid fairly and didn't grind him down to nothing. The CEO didn't make speeches or pose for cameras. He simply made sure that the man who had saved his son could stand again. For Ethan, the hardest part was accepting help. Pride had been his armor for so long that laying it down felt like another wound. But Lily laughed more when he wasn't constantly exhausted. He slept through the night without pain waking him every hour. He started to believe that maybe survival didn't have to be the only goal anymore. Weeks turned into months. The limp faded. Strength returned. On a quiet afternoon, Ethan took Lily to the park, watching her run without fear, her laughter cutting through the air like sunlight after rain. He realized then that heroism wasn't about that single moment in the street, though it had mattered. It was about every choice that followed, every time he showed his daughter what it meant to protect someone else. Weeks turned into months. The limp faded. Strength returned. On a quiet afternoon, Ethan took Lily to the park, watching her run without fear, her laughter cutting through the air like sunlight after rain. He realized then that heroism wasn't about that single moment in the street, though it had mattered. It was about every choice that followed, every time he showed his daughter what it meant to protect someone else even when the world offered no guarantees. Just before the ending, take a moment to comment below and tell us what this story made you feel, or share a time when kindness changed your life in an unexpected way. The night of the storm never fully left him. It lived in the scar, in the way he still scanned shadows out of habit. But it also lived in the knowledge that one decision, made by an ordinary man with nothing extra to give, had rippled outward and come back as hope. In a world that often feels cruel and indifferent, that mattered more than any reward. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that quiet courage still exists, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to the channel so these stories of humanity and hope can keep reaching those who need them most. Because sometimes, all it takes to change a life is one person willing to stand in the rain and choose someone else's safety over their own.